South Albany in Chicago, and they had a really big flood, and that was before Chicago put in that deep tunnel project. The deep tunnel project took care of a lot of flooding, but at that time, there's so much concrete and blacktop and stuff in the city of Chicago. If you got big rains, I mean, it just flooded everywhere. And it came a big flood. I was at work, working nights, and it was even the streets that was flooded there. And then the word came that my wife was home and it had flooded where we lived. So I had to go home, and of course we had a lot of stuff wet. We had to find another place to live. And a friend of mine lived at Chief's Trailer Park. At that time it was called Oak Lawn, 8800 West 79th Street. And he told me there was a guy had a nice little trailer that he wanted to sell. And so I went with him over to look at that trailer. His name was Lindsay Hatley, and he lived across the street in a trailer from that one. And that trailer looked like an Airstream trailer, but it wasn't an Airstream, but it looked like one. And it was a one-bedroom, aluminum, all aluminum outside. And it was really nice trailer. I liked it. And, of course, we only had one child at that time, Tom, and he was a baby. And so I talked to the guy about buying a trailer, and he gave me a price, and I thought, well, I could afford that. Of course, when you live in a trailer park like that, you own the trailer, but you also pay rent. And I think after I bought the trailer, we were paying $40 a month, I believe is what we were paying. And that was for the space. We still had to pay our light bill, and we had bottled gas. And the guy that lived next door, he hauled the bottled gas. So we had a little thing we put in the window when we needed a bottle of gas, because we cooked with it. And the heating in that trailer was kerosene, and we had a tank out back. We had kerosene, and it didn't take a lot to heat that trailer because it wasn't that big. Anyhow, we moved into that trailer, and I would ride back and forth. I didn't even have a car. I'd ride back and forth with Lindsay, because Lindsay was a really good guy, and he worked at the same place. And then later on, Willie Toombs moved down the street, and then Willie and I would ride back and forth to work, or Lindsay and I, and I didn't have a car. And then finally I bought a car, and I could drive myself back and forth to work, but we were working the second shift. Willie and I at that time was working the second shift, and we didn't go to work until 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So when we'd get off at midnight or something like that, and we'd go home and go to bed, and then we'd get up early the next morning, and we'd go out and try to hustle up jobs. We might make $5 or might not make anything, but we were desperate for money. I mean, back in those days, we were making like $1.50 an hour. And at that time, that was just a going rate that that was, most people were making that kind of money. So we thought we could go out, and I know sometimes we would go to the used car dealers we knew what day they had an auction. They had auctions on Tuesday, and that was over in Dyer, Indiana. And that car dealer, he would need people to take cars over to the auction and pick up cars at the auction that he had bought. He'd be switching back and forth. So we would go down there in the mornings, and we would take those cars over to the auction on Tuesday, and then whatever he bought, then we would bring them back. They call that hiking cars. We'd be hiking cars on Tuesday, and then
Hasn't J.D. done some of that?
Well, he may have, but we did that on Tuesday, and then we would try to drum up other work. There was a guy that had a trailer sales, and he sold used part model mobile homes. And he would need somebody to help set them up. He didn't sell a lot of trailers, but when he did sell one, he would need somebody to set it up. And Willie was, he could handle a truck. You know, he could back up a trailer. I mean, he was really good. So when he had a trailer that he had sold and he needed set up, it would be, you know, one of those trailer parks is where they'd be setting up anyhow. Well, he would let us know, and we would go and get that trailer, and we would set it up. You know, we would level it out, hook the water up, and hook the electricity up, and all that. If he'd let us know, we'd start out early in the morning, and we could usually have that thing set up enough for somebody to move in by the time we had to go to work that day. And, you know, we would do things like that. And then the trailer park we lived in, Chief's Trailer Park, was a big trailer park, had a lot of trailers in it. And we would ask them if there was any work we could do for them. And I remember one time the sewer had got stocked up. You know, and they had a spot there that you could get down. It was a manhole where you could get down where it was stopped up there, and it was starting to back up into people's trailers and things. And so Willie and I said, well, we can fix that. We'll get that unstopped. You know, they had a big fire pump, gasoline fire pump with a big fire hose. And we thought, well, if we pump that out, we could pump it out of there over into the other, you know, to the other holding area. And once we got that place pumped out, then we could get down in there and unstop it, because we figured there's something down in there to stop it up. So we come up with the idea of doing that. So we went up to the office, and we got that big pump, and we got the fire hose, and we had to splice that fire hose together to run it a long way over to, you know, where they had a sanitary area, you know, where they must have had some kind of way of getting rid of the sewage in the sanitary area, but we were bypassing a lot of trailers just to get over to that. So we got that thing fired up, and we were over there, you know, seeing where it was pumping to make sure everything pumping, and we had it, you know, that fire hose was, you know, about a 5 or 6 inch fire hose. I don't know how big it was, but we had that thing really going. And some woman comes running over there, and Willie stuttered anyhow. And she said, and where we had spliced it together, it was leaking.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't leaking bad.
Yeah.
And she comes running over, and we're over on the other side, and she said, "You got a leak in it. You got a leak in it." And Willie, he's pissed off already. And he says, "Lady, I know it." And I decided I better go look and see what was leaking. I go over, and it had come apart. Okay, and it was frailing around, you know, like a fire hose, which it
the
was.
pressure from
Yeah, and it
only
had got all
water.
it had got all up on the side of her trailer, and all up in her. She had clothes hanging on the line. I mean, she was livid. And I run over there and shut the damn pump off, and we had to clean that mess up. And it took us the rest of the day just to kind of get the woman, you know, she was going to have to rewash those clothes,
Yeah.
and we had to get the water hose out and wash off her trailer and wash out the street, because the street was filled up with sewage, and that was once we got done, and you know, we didn't finish up, we just got it under control.
Yeah.
And we had to go to work. And of course, we were in the car together going to work. And I told Willie, I said, "Willie, I don't know what you're going to do tomorrow, but I ain't going back into that job." I said, whatever happens, I said, that woman is mad as hell. I ain't going back over there. And I don't care if they don't pay me. I just ain't going to do it. You know, that ain't the bargain I was looking for. So I don't know if Willie went back. I can't remember if he went back over there and finished that project up or not. But I never got paid for the day's work. But I learned my lesson that I wasn't qualified for that kind of work. I promise you that. I figured we had to get out, go up to the gas station and pump gas, or hide cars, or we could do cleanup work and stuff like that, and help people set up trailers. We'd do about anything, but I wasn't going to take that project on because